then I don't want to hear it. So just.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Anime Club After Dark, the podcast that delves into all things anime, manga, and otaku culture related. I'm your host, Nitai, the poser extraordinaire, here sending psychic waves to your brain and bringing along with me both the chivalry of Shotas, Shotaro.
I'm clean, clear, and under control.
God damn it. The sorcerer of Wait What, Shinoda.
I have to wake up in the morning every single day this week. It's not fun. Someone please kill me.
Well, it's not fun just to wake up.
No, I
That's what
hate
you
waking up. I want to stay dead.
What's wrong, baby? Anyway, speaking of... I don't have a good segue. We're talking about Mob Psycho today. We'll touch on Season 1, but we'll also talk about Season 2. Now, before we go spoiler heavy into the discussion, let's first talk about how we got into the show. Because personally, I got a bit late on the bandwagon. I watched it, I binged it about a year after it released. Loved the first season, enjoyed the art style and such. And the main draw for me was because when season 1 first started, it was to me perceived as that other show that's related to One Punch Man. So I want to hear what you guys sort of journey into this show and how you first got into it and watched it before we discuss spoilers.
Yeah, I watched One Punch Man first, and I loved it. And so I'm like, okay. They say if you like One Punch Man, you should watch Mob Psycho. So I watched Mob Psycho when it was airing, which was like 3 years ago. Jesus Christ.
How time flies. Okay, what about you, Shinoda?
Pretty much the same story. I watched One Punch Man, and then I heard, oh yeah, there's a new series by the same author that's gonna be airing. I'm like, okay, bet, let's watch this. And watched it, I'm like, holy shit, this might actually be even better. And
Right.
that was my journey. I basically watched it as it was airing, and I've been with it ever since. Haven't read the manga yet, but I'll eventually get around to it.
Yeah, I'd agree that actually I watched Mob Psycho before watching One Punch, but it for some reason had that feeling of like, oh, it's the other show based on a manga from the guy who made One Punch. But when I watched it, I was like blown away and thought to myself, this is awesome. I mean, season 1 I thought was solid, and I really wanted a season 2 because the ending of season 1 really felt like there's a whole lot more there. So when they announced season 2, I was super pumped for it. But I waited a long time till I watched it. I waited for it to be over and then I binged it.
Were you waiting for the dub?
No, I wasn't. I was waiting for the girlfriend.
Oh.
Yeah.
Rip.
We watched it together. It was a great watching experience, actually.
How
Oh, that's actually good.
romantic.
Yeah. A lot of feels. But yeah. Would you guys, before we really head first into spoilers and talk about more aspects of the show, give me like a quick sentence on what you feel the show gets right in your opinion, and for people who are still on the fence about it. Shinoda, you go first.
What the show gets right?
Like, how, if you want to recommend it to people before they like listen to us spoiling everything.
Okay. Oh man, you you laid
Sorry
something heavy on me. Okay.
Sorry, I forgot to put it on the dock.
No, that's fine. That's fine. The show is a valuable watching experience because it actually shows off lessons, legitimate life lessons, and it shows off importance of these said things, of why we practice some things, how we do some things. It actually puts it into importance, and it shows off why it matters, how it changes people later on, and it's actually extremely wholesome because of this. Like, yes, there's a lot of cool animation, awesome fight scenes, great music. There's all that, which is just, that's great. But honestly,
Fucking awesome OPs, yeah.
awesome OPs and EDs, but compared to what the material the show actually gives us, like those are just bonuses. Like I could legitimately show this to younger siblings and tell them, "Hey, actually pay attention to this show and don't just take it for entertainment because it actually teaches some valuable life lessons." And I really
Mm-hmm.
appreciate the show for that because
Yep.
everyone gets these sort of things in their own way.
Right. What about you, Show?
Okay, well,
Anything you want to
I have like a
add?
completely different opinion of the show. I don't really care for the life lessons, but the best part of the show for me were the endearing characters. There's a lot of different personalities that are fun to watch and
Mm-hmm.
interesting to see interact with each other. And a lot of the time, the show has an atmosphere where it's just like, we're just going to be chill, and we're just going to hang out and do everyday things and just do quirky things together and get into trouble. And it's really immersive. Like, you get drawn into the situations, and it's just a wholesome, fun time to just shoot the shit with these characters.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with both of you, and I would add to that that also the animation in the show is just a massive showcase of what's possible in anime, in my opinion. Um, the art style itself, that's very influenced by the manga, is just very lend itself to this creative use of animation.
See,
So yeah,
this I put down
what?
the specific point, thoughts on art style and animation, because everyone I talk to about Mob Psycho says the best thing is the animation, which I can't disagree that the animation is very unique and skillful. But the thing is that I watched One Punch Man before Mob Psycho, and you can't, like, the standards that One Punch Man set just can't be beat by Mob Psycho. So,
I'll I'll interject and
uh
say
huh,
different strokes for different folks.
sure, you could say that. I'm just
Okay, but
I'm just saying my
by
personal
the
experience with
sure,
how like everybody's saying, "Oh, I love the animation," and I'm like, "But I wanted One Punch Man." Anyways,
sure.
and also,
Well,
just one other thing about the animation is that I'm sure you don't want to hear this, but there was a huge controversy with the Crunchyroll Awards and Mob Psycho being snuffed for Yuri on Ice, and
the first season, by the way,
yeah,
yeah.
the first season, and everybody on the internet was like in a rage, being like, "You freaking like you forgot about Mob Psycho. Mob Psycho was the best. Mob Psycho," and it just like turned me so off of it. I'm like, I don't want to hear you like screaming about how Mob Psycho is so good.
I
So
mean, it was pretty good.
I don't want to hear. I said I don't want to hear it. So
I
just
know. Honestly, I
listen,
could care less.
listen.
No, wait. I could care less because I watched both shows way after those stupid awards
Okay.
aired, so I don't care.
Like, I don't care if you think Mob Psycho is better animated than Yuri and Ice. Can you not like scream and like harass everyone? It was just so toxic, and it just turned me off of like appreciating Mob Psycho in a vacuum. So
So, leaving that tangent behind, let's actually go into the show and get into spoilers. So, if anybody wants to tune out, now's your time. Go watch the show. It's fucking awesome. Let's talk about the animation even more in depth, specifically in the openings for both seasons, because, like, I don't know about you guys, but I feel both OPs are fucking awesome. For different reasons, by the way.
okay, it's interesting that you. It's interesting that you bring up the specific animation in the opening, because like there's a lot of shows where a lot of action shows where the best animation is the
Is in the
opening
opening.
animation. Like the best fights are the opening fights, and then
Yeah.
there's like a slideshow, a PowerPoint slideshow for the actual show. But
Yeah.
this is definitely not the case for Mob. I think the best part of the opening is like the creative direction of it and the
Yeah.
amazing fight animation where like this badass bullshit going down. That's in the actual show. So it's a very stylistic OP, and I've heard from a lot of different fans of Mob Psycho that you really appreciate the OP if you know the manga because it references so many things in the manga, which none of us have read.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could tell there was like a lot of crazy, wacky things happening, but I would agree that I didn't fully understand all of it.
Yeah, there's so much shit going on in each OP. There's like just the it's so dense in like either reference or just visuals. It's incredible. And it looks great.
You legitimately have to slow it down and watch each scene very carefully because there's a multitude of things going on, and it's actually amazing the amount of detail they put into it. There's so much you can miss and not even like register, but if you actually go back and watch it in a slower motion or something, you actually get paid off for it. And when you actually watch it in normal speed again, it's even more of a treat because of that.
Right. And what you just said, I feel is like just is even more so for the second OP than the first even because the like first half of 99.9 is just the reason I love that. I know like just before I start recording, you guys told me that you're a bit torn about them, but I feel the second open is even better because it just feels so how can I explain? Because okay, the first half of the second opening is just filled with all of these animation techniques and showcasing how animation can be used in different ways that and it's so stylish. For example, they literally split mob's like character model to different layers, which is looks really cool. And they use in the beginning. There's this one sequence where I can't remember the name of that style of animation, where you see the character poses, and then there's like this weird slide that it slides across the screen, right? And in the background, you can see them sort of dance, right? You know which one I'm talking about?
Honey, I skipped the second OP.
What? Anyway,
Wow, really?
we'll get to.
Okay, as soon as it started with the CG chibi large,
What CG?
the huge CG chibi mob, like the hundreds of them, like the balloons or something, I was like, this is so much. I don't know.
What are you talking about? The point of it is that it's supposed to spin around. Again, animation. It uses something that's stiff and like not stiff, like
Wink.
A model?
static. Yeah, a model, and then it spins it around to create the illusion of animation. What's animation? The illusion of movement,
Honey,
where it doesn't exist.
I'll show you.
It's so fucking genius.
I'll show you
It is
moving
a-
something stiff.
Oh
honey.
my god.
Oh. And then the last half of the OP is just non-stop action and psycho. It's so good. How can you say that?
It was literally annoying.
What?
The visuals and the song just annoyed me.
You. What?
Natai, calm
Yes,
down.
Chinoda. Yes, Chinoda. Your turn.
You'll get your turn to kill him later.
I'm losing my marbles.
I just haven't gotten back and watched the second OP in a while, so that's why I'm not so sure if how much I love it and all that. But I do definitely agree with the fact that it's extremely top quality in terms of OPs because it's got a lot of different styles of animation. They, as you said, they have unique things to the OP as well as it is a little bit chaotic. I will agree with Show on that, but I feel they choreograph it well enough. It actually makes sense if you just bother to pay attention to it. So yeah,
Okay.
overall, I definitely liked
And
the
again, not
second
to
one
take
as
away
well.
from not to take away from 99, like the first OP, it's also fucking
No,
awesome.
it's
a
god
league of
tier.
its own.
It is honestly
Yeah,
god
it's
tier.
god tier. But for me, 99 is just a tad better, but I still love both of them immensely. They're both good, and fuck you, show. It's good.
Okay.
How could you skip
Different
that?
strokes.
Okay, fair enough.
Anyway.
I just want to say I did appreciate in the first OP that the woman counted from 1 to 100 in a span of 3 minutes or a minute and a half. Wait, she didn't actually reach 100, did she? In the full song she reaches 100.
No, they stop at 99.
Well, whatever. No, but did they count from 1 to 99 in the 1 minute
They
and a half?
cut some sections. In the full song, they count from 1
Okay,
to
yeah.
99.
So in the full
OP,
song,
they
I
cut some.
can appreciate her diligence in counting up. I'm not being sarcastic. I actually do appreciate. I do
I
appreciate
get where
it.
you're coming from. The fact that they made counting from 1 to 99 entertaining
Hype.
is pretty fucking impressive.
That's very true. That's very true. But yeah, and again, the animation is just fucking awesome. Fuck you, show. Oh, the second OP is also great.
Okay.
And
Moving
that
on.
Moving on, that animation carries into the show itself, and we spoke about it and we yelled about it for a bit before. But honestly, what was your guys' first reaction when you actually got yourself into the show and thought to yourself, okay, this is the look of the show, this is how it's going to look like? Did you guys at first dislike it? Were you okay with it? Did you love it? What did you guys think about it? Shinoda.
I was initially like, so this is the style. It's using a mix of the younger sort of 2000s early 2000 animations for the more comedy scenes where there's just blurred movements and just like funny sports well, not sports, spots and all that. But then when it came to more action heavy scenes and more intense scenes, it's actually rather well animated. And they mixed those two together really well. And I was really impressed by that. And they
Mm-hmm.
made it look good the whole time. And it's pretty consistent even with the different styles that were going on, which really impressed me.
Yeah. There's in season one and in season two in general they jump from different styles all the time, which is awesome. I remember in season one they sometimes use this style of animation, which was I think it's like paint on glass, which created this very like dreamlike effect on some scenes, which just looks awesome. And when I watched it, I thought to myself, I've never seen anything like it. It's so different and unique and creative. It's great. It's fun seeing all these anime just flex on everyone. It's like, okay, let me show you how it's done. It's fucking awesome.
I remember the first time I saw the first episode of Mob, I thought it was really jarring. It reminded me of The Flowers of Evil, if you guys have heard of that, where they rotoscope the where
I know what you're talking about.
they rotoscoped, what do you call it, actual footage of real people and made it look like
Yeah.
animation. Like it was very strange. And I couldn't say I actually enjoyed it, but like I got used to it. And for the actual action scenes, it's really it's just not my kind of. I can tell.
It's not your strokes.
Yeah, it's not my strokes. I didn't really like the action animation personally. It didn't impress me. It's just not my style.
In what way though? Oh, didn't like it.
Yeah, it's too abstract for me, and not in a good way.
Too frantic.
Frantic, like, yeah.
It's more generic and didn't have as much detail to it. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I think it's more in the case of like there's like the battles use a lot of like smear frames and off model like frames to create this sort of frantic and visceral like movement that they just fly around the scene.
I feel like they relied too much on the rainbow effects, and
okay,
it was nice, but like after a while it felt a little cheap. I don't know. It didn't wow me. It was like, okay, but I didn't feel like, oh
would
my
you
god.
say? Would you say in the second season they mixed it up, or do you feel like they didn't really?
Honestly, I think
Not really.
the best fight animation was in the first season.
Really?
Yeah. There was like,
Which one?
what do you mean, which one?
Like which scene? I'm trying to
I'm
think
thinking
about.
of the scene where they're in like an alleyway, and then
Oh, with the drill
yeah,
guy,
I
right?
think so.
Okay.
I think and
Gotcha, gotcha.
that was a really good fight, and then probably the finale fight of season one is also pretty good.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Personally, I thought, again, I touched on it, but I felt like the animation and direction of the second season was a more like creative. Like sometimes they would just like start drawing the like certain scenes and parts of it in just manga panels that would move around, which was really cool. So
The
I don't know.
second
Personally, I really
season?
yeah. There was a part where they just interject some manga panels into the scene. Was I think early on, if I'm not mistaken, and that was just one like type of animation they incorporated into the show. And personally, I just really enjoy when shows that are super experimental and try different things and go it just like go all out with it. So I was really attached to the animation and the style of it. It really blew me away. That's just the strokes for me, I guess. Anyway, moving on. Um, mm, mm, mm. Yeah, let's okay. You know what? Let's change things up a bit. Let's dive into the themes of the show. The show. And I think one of the biggest ones that's like some would say is a bit on the nose, but I think it works as like a jumping off point for the show itself. Is like thinking of Mob's powers as a metaphor for his puberty and his feelings inside, which is like they pretty much are. And what did you guys feel about that whole concept that this kid is like bubbling up and could explode any minute, and that's pretty much what puberty is for some people when they grow up.
Whoa. What kind of puberty? Are we talking about like
Like thematically,
ejaculation
what
at
did
this
you?
point?
Uh
Are its emotions bubbling up and
yeah, his
exploding?
emotions.
Are we
Yeah, yeah.
by emotions do you mean like semen?
God damn it!
Okay, that I mean, obviously, yes, sexuality is a part of puberty, but
Sexual is a
it's
part
more
of it.
than just that.
Like the catalyst for the entire plot is him wanting to like impress his like crush, you know.
Yeah. The
So I guess
anxiety of trying to impress her.
confess your love.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
the fear of letting down his sensei, the anxiousness of growing up and not being
and
well
being a good
adjusted
role
to
model for his
society.
young brother.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
all
But
these
that's
things
like
they
but that's not a metaphor. Isn't that just literally what people
yeah,
experience?
it's literally is, but it's also like that's the theme of it, you know.
yeah.
Okay.
That's what the numbers represent.
Honey, I can't do
It's
math.
God damn it!
I mean, obvious. It's just a buildup of until he basically
Explode.
has
Gives into his like
yeah,
darkest
his
emotions.
feelings just explode out, and like he needs a release, which honestly just happens to teenagers all the time, where like eventually all those bottled up feelings do get out there. But here in this show, we see each time something happens, why the numbers will rise, why the percentage will keep on going up, and it's pretty interesting to keep a watch on it because we're
Okay.
seeing his emotional development and stunts that happen through the show.
So, on that note, I want to just say in relation to the percentage signs or percentage numbers flashing across the screen as an indicator of his emotional level. I thought that was like a good idea, but they didn't do it that well because I'm pretty sure there's lots of times where he was like emotional and then they didn't do the numbers. And I don't think it
Because
was.
it probably didn't fit the flow of the
Yeah,
scene.
it didn't really
you know?
feel consistent. And also, it like was barely there in the second season. I feel like it went from like 0 to 100 literally like out of nowhere. Like there was
Yeah,
no
because
build up.
because by the point of the second season, you already got into Mob's head. You know to identify whenever he's like in some form or like state of a feeling is about to overwhelm him. You don't really need that sign to keep popping up and disrupt the flow of the scene because sometimes you don't need it.
I
You don't
think
need
no,
it to
I
tell
think
you,
you
okay,
do
that's
need it.
this
I
one.
just think it's sloppy that they didn't
Do
put
you
it in.
though?
Yeah, that's the whole.
I
That's
You
the
just
title of the show.
I actually agree with Show on this. I think they should have interjected it a little bit more. I don't think it should have been in there as much as he's saying it should be, but a little bit more would have been nice, just so we can
it
have
was enough. I thought I think that season 2 had it like enough of it.
I have to disagree. I think they could have put it in a little bit more. Like, yeah, we can obviously tell when he's feeling some type of way and the numbers are going up. We can definitely tell.
But you
But they
can't. But by
barely had
season
it
2,
compared to the season 1.
yeah, because again, by season 2, you can, it's a visual medium. You can tell from Mob's sort of behavior what type of state he is in, and
No,
sometimes
yes.
that's not,
We can definitely
you
tell.
get what I'm saying?
I
Yeah,
do. We can definitely tell. I just would have liked to actually see the numbers more. Is the
gotcha.
thing.
Okay, okay,
That's all. Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah, I felt like
That
it was
makes
a
sense.
really interesting idea, and I would have appreciated it to have been used more frequently or more in more detail. So that's why I'm so hung up over it.
So if season 3 does come around, would you just want like whole episodes of just numbers going up?
You know how like there's those videos where they have like counters whenever someone says a
Right.
word or something? That's what I want for a mod. Like every single scene, every single word, every single motion he
A
makes.
percentage is going
Yeah,
up.
no, it can go up and down, depends on how he's feeling, you know? Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, tell me that would be pretty cool to see. Tell me.
It'd
I
be
don't know.
interesting,
That's
but
the-
I wouldn't actually like to see it in an anime.
But like
I don't
if
think
you
it has
if you
place
if you
there.
don't want to like just have it in the corner if you don't want to pay attention to
But
it.
then
You don't
it just
have
looks
to.
kind of tacked on
But
because
that's
it's on the point of the scene.
that's the
I'm
point,
sorry,
though.
but when I'm watching something, I actually look at the whole screen,
Oh
not just
my
one part
God.
of it.
But no, like when you're watching those videos with the counters, sometimes you're engrossed in the scene and then you forget the counters there. And then you're like, how did it get to that number? And then you have to rewind. Whatever. If that's just me.
I think the point, like sometimes the point of the percentage is to add tension to a scene, and some scenes just don't need it. Sometimes you do want to do a quick cutaway every now and then to see, oh shit, his percentage is going up, the guy's bubbling up and he's about to just explode and unleash hell. But in some scenes you don't need that cutaway because it's not about the tension of his feelings in that scene.
I see what you're saying, and I definitely think the cutaways give tension to the scene. But I
Yeah.
still would like to know the number. Maybe just like slide it in somewhere. Like not don't you don't have to make a big huge thing. Just show me the number, girl.
But what's
Give
the number?
me the receipts.
Gotcha. Okay. Speaking of something a bit more complex than numbers, one of my favorite characters in the show is probably Reagan. I think a lot of us would also say the same, right?
Oh my god, yes. I love Reagan.
Thank you. Okay. and Reagan and Mom's relationship is complicated to say the least, right? There's a whole lot of going on there because at first it seems a bit like exploitative. Reagan's like just using Mob to for his own gain, and he doesn't really pay him much when he helps him with some ghost cases. But and it's pretty evident by the end of season 1, and you see that Reagan cares a whole lot about Mob and trying to help him grow up to be a better person, be a better man even, which is cool because the first ED of the show was a really nice touch that just really resonated with me. Is the whole ED is like in these washed out colors. It doesn't really even have colors at first. It showcases Reagan waking up in the morning, heading to work, and it's all just in a single color. But then it cuts away to Reagan like seeing Mob, and suddenly there's like everything's full of color, which is in my opinion, like a great representation of that Reagan is actually cares about Mob. But I don't know, that's just me. What do you guys feel about the whole relationship? Because I think it's like one of the main pillars of the show.
It is absolutely one of the main pillars of the show. It's one of the most important lessons in the show
It's
overall,
like the
period.
heart of the show, even.
It really is, because a lot of what happens and a lot of what will happen even in the future is straight up based on
Mm-hmm.
Reagan and Mob's interactions and the
Yeah.
lessons that were passed down. Um, I do think that Reagan initially did take a bit too much of an advantage of Mob, and it was a little bit
Yeah.
shitty. Like, I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people will agree with that. But the fact that he genuinely does care for Mob and, like, actually wishes to see him grow up and be a successful human being and a very successful contribution to society, it's
Mm-hmm.
one of the most powerful things there is. Reagan honestly takes a father like a role, not just a role of a teacher, but of a father straight up, and it
And not
is
just to
very
Mob,
wholesome.
even to the rest of the cast, even to the villains of season one. Even he's like just telling them outright, listen, you guys are wrong for using your powers like that. You guys are nothing. Go and do something with yourselves and contribute to
Yeah.
society.
Like a lot of people initially Reagan was just set up as the joke character, the absolute weakling that's just taking taking out scams of out of everyone. But no,
Yeah.
he's a lot more complex and deep than that. He actually cares about people, and he definitely does the right thing a lot more often
Yeah.
than not. And you see him do it over and over and over again at no cost to him as well.
Yeah, and say what you will about him maybe explaining people. At the end of the day, all of his customers, he does care about them living happier and just feeling better. So there is that genuine care for people inside of him, which I was not expecting when I first watched the show.
Yeah, and to see it evolve too is really interesting. We see initially what he's like, and it just drops us in the middle of it where he's already a good person. But in the second season, we see how he
Yeah,
starts out, and he's rather scummy, but he gets a couple life lessons thrown his way as well. And then he meets Mob, and he decides to help this kid out that just came looking for help, and
yeah,
it's beautiful. He could have told Mob as well as so many other people, use their powers, take advantage of them, just look out for yourself. But no, he looks out for everyone in a way of just teaching everyone, don't just use your powers and what you have to make yourself better. Contribute some of that to society, friends, family, even just random
mm-hmm.
people.
And it's also one great detail about Reagan that I absolutely love is that he just he took the job of being an exorcist just on a whim. He just decided to do it just for shits and giggles to see what will come out of it. And he was about to quit and just move on to the next job that will whatever it may be. And then Mom just approached him and he did see this opportunity to capitalize on Mob's powers, but he became attached to this little kid and just wanted to help him, which is such it's so wonderful. I love it.
Yeah,
Wholesome Reagan is awesome.
I mean,
So, what are your thoughts?
from season one, Reagan was pretty openly acting like a scumbag, like
Scumgat.
yes, a scumgat. No, but
Scumbag?
like he would like act sleazy and just openly just not care about things that you would normally care about. And then when push comes to shove, he would actually do the moral thing. Um, and then so to me, just from season one, like he's I would still call him a scumbag. Yeah, he does the right thing in the time of need, but like most of the time he's a scumbag. But then we go in then we go into season 2 and like we get to see more. There was like a portion of the middle part of season 2 where Mob separates from Reagan, and then we're just looking at only what Reagan is doing just by himself.
Yeah.
And you really get to see all of the little things in his life, and seeing his life in such detail. I'm like, he's just a normal guy trying to get by. Like, yeah, he has a dishonest profession, but he's just, doing what a guy's got to do to live, just doing what he can. And I started to like empathize with him and be like, you're not that bad. And then that last line at the end of that arc in the middle of season 2, where Mob was like, "You're a good guy, Reagan. Like, I knew all along." Okay, first of all, that line like hit me like a train. I was like, "Holy
I
shit!"
damn near bitch cried at that. I was
Same,
like, "Oh Jesus,
same.
that was heavy."
That was so many feels. But yeah, like that really made me like Reagan. That because Mob was aware that Reagan was using him, but Mob just Reagan treated Mob with respect, and Mob got the confidence from being treated with respect. So he was like, "Yeah, you can use me. Like, we have a pretty healthy relationship emotionally, so I enjoy a relationship, so I don't mind being used by you." So, and then him verbalizing that was super powerful, because obviously, as the audience, we didn't know that. And then
I honestly wonder though, does he like he knows that he definitely knows that Reagan was using him, but I still wonder, does he know about the fact that Reagan doesn't have any powers? Because they
yeah,
haven't indicated that. Have
that's
they?
like
Yeah,
100% he knows. How can he?
Yeah, he
How can he
knows.
know that Reagan's using him and not know that Reagan doesn't have powers? It doesn't make sense. So
Okay, okay. To be fair, we all love Mob, but god damn it, that boy is really fucking stupid sometimes.
Like, okay, so season one until the end, it was implied that, I mean, because honestly, Reagan was just bullshitting, but Reagan was constantly being like, "No, my aura is so strong, you can't even notice it," or bullshit like that. But by the end of season one, when Mob actually manages, like, Dimple uses Reagan, and then he like just knows about ghosts because he has like this access to, like, his sort of, he can see them all around him now. So I guess by that point, Mob's like pretty aware of him not really being powerful, you know?
It's definitely plausible. I don't know. I just wish Mob would come out and say, "Yeah, I know you don't have powers, but
Yeah, but that fucking, like, I know you're a good guy. It's so good.
that was
And,
like one of the best moments in the show.
yeah, easy. And it's just such a great relationship because they make each other better. Like, Mom, by in that arc, it all starts from Mom telling Reagan, like, "Stop calling me to work at the last minute. I have other things to do." At that point, he has actual friends. He's going out with people. He's like hanging out and going to karaoke and shit. And when Reagan sort of just steps on that, it makes Mom go like, "No, I'm not gonna take your shit. I'm just gonna go ahead and like hang out with my friends. So peace." And that whole arc of how Reagan takes that and realizes, "Okay, I overstepped. That was shitty of me," and Mom just validating him at the end is just so. Mm,
it was a really beautiful old arc as well
yeah,
because of all that. Like we finally see, like we truly see Mob taking a stand for himself, and it was great. It was honestly, I felt a little bit of a catharsism when that happened.
yeah,
I was like, thank you, finally, you grew a spine and stood up for yourself. And I was really happy for him, but then I was really worried for their relationship. I was like, "Oh no, is
Yeah.
this gonna be it? Like, what's going on?" But then we see everything that happens. They uh Reagan gets called out, and Mob sees what's happening, but then he hears Reagan say what he says, and it was directed at Mob, and because of that, he was like, "Okay, you're good. You're still
We're
my
cool.
friend. Yeah, we're still cool. Like let me give you some support, and we'll talk after."
Yeah.
Yeah, like as many good points as Reagan has, I still can't get past the fact that he's like a he is in a
A
dishonest
dick.
no that he's in a dishonest profession because
Yeah.
like someone like that in real life, like with that profession, I can't respect. So, and like Mob Psycho 100 is not gonna humanize that profession and make me think that that's
For sure.
okay.
Yeah.
So I feel kind of like torn. Like, why are you making me care for this character who's in a dishonest profession that I can't respect? But it's still interesting to see because like it does pressure your preconceptions and makes you take a second look at the person. But in the end, I
Yeah.
just like thinking of it like from how it reflects on real life. I still can't respect his profession, but he is a good guy.
Yeah.
No, IRL, obviously the profession's just a huge sham, but in the show, like we see that there are legitimate spirits and such, and people have actual problems.
But no, but even in the show, he's a sham though. He's just taking advantage of
Even
people.
in the
But
show,
he is like he does help his customers feel better when they
Technically,
leave.
yes.
So
Technically,
it's like it's not as black and white, you know.
I know
yeah.
it's
And not to
complicated.
mention, he does have Mob on his side to actually take care of the problems. Like, he might not be able to, he might only be able to take care of the people, but the overall problem can actually get solved too, thanks to his agency, which includes Mob.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dirty money, honey. It's gonna follow you around.
That child labor,
Now,
though.
Oh my god!
you had to go there. You just had to.
It's a Baito.
Anyway, we touched on this for a bit, but seeing Mob stand up for himself was such a great moment as well because I think the second season in particular did a great job of like showing how Mob is growing step by step and being more assertive, how he's like being more responsible, and how he's trying to connect to his emotions even more. Like one of the best scenes of the show as well is in episode one. There's this whole little episode about how he is trying to get into the student council, fails miserably, and then this girl is telling him, "Oh, want to go out with me?" And then later she tells him, "Listen, it was a joke. I just did it because like I lost a bet. There's nothing here. Like you don't need to walk around with me all day. It's fine." And it all leads to this one scene where this girl is walking with her friends, and they see this little paper she wrote. She's starting to write this novel, and she already showed it to Mob, and he was like very impressed with it and all. And but her friends they joke about it. And it's like, oh, what is this shit? And they tear this novel apart. And she just jokes around and said, yeah, it doesn't mean anything. But Mob is just shocked by it and just starts picking up all the pieces and trying to fix it. And he's like, in this one sentence, he says, I'm going to listen to my emotions. And he starts crying. And it's such a wonderful scene because it also, like, the payoff of this scene is him actually showing this girl his powers and fixing the novel for her. And by the end of the episode, it cuts away to her in a room thinking about Mob and starts writing again about this psychic boy in school. And it's such a beautiful moment of Mob just helping out and not thinking about himself. He sees a problem and he's thinking to himself, How can I make this better? And actually using his powers to make the situation work, because without his powers he couldn't have fixed that novel, you know. So I think that first episode set the tone for the entire second season of seeing him being more of a whole person, you know.
It was a very humanizing moment, and I absolutely
Yeah,
loved it. The fact that
that was a tearjerker as well, for
it,
me at least.
Oh
it really
yeah,
was.
it hit
Season
me
2
hard too.
overall was just like, holy shit.
Yeah,
Very different
deep.
from season 1 in terms of emotions and such, but it in a improved way. It was much better because it actually showed the important human connections and the really wholesome parts. And I feel that's important. That we don't have enough of that, and it's important to
Yeah,
be reminded of it.
yeah. It's important to be reminded that yeah, you can do good and you don't need to expect anything in return. It's okay, but that's okay, because once you if you affect someone positively, they're going to it's creating this ripple effect that they're going to do something positive to someone else, not necessarily you. You know.
And I think it reflects a lot on the Japanese school culture, where as a student, there's a huge pressure to just do what your peers tell you, to just like be in the mob, haha pun. But like, like go
Yeah.
with the flow is the Japanese aphorism, and like there's so many problems with bullying in Japanese
Mm-hmm.
schools because you know um, March Comes In Like a Lion really illustrates this well. But it's in Japanese schools, it's all about everybody's one mind, and if anyone is different, then they get bullied. So that scene in particular is like sometimes you have to have your own mind. Sometimes there's some things you have to stand up for and be apart from the pack and be like, hey, I care about this. I care about writing my novel. Like I you have to like stand up
This
for
is me,
yourself.
my individuality.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This show is so good. Ugh.
3 deep, 5 me.
um, and that whole like aspect of Mob, of him connecting like to himself, to his emotions, to the people around him, to his friends, to his family, to Reagan, all of them. I think that really is shown even more near the end of second season when we meet Suzuki, the boss of Claw, which is like the complete opposite. This is a man that just leaves everything behind in order to be the most powerful being in the world. Like his marriage is falling apart, his connection with his son is just disrupted entirely, and even though he has connections with some people, specifically the Ultimate Five, is like elite force, that connection is also sort of based on like just him exploiting them, right? So it's like this perfect, him and Mob are like two sides of the same coin, essentially, in that
I feel
respect.
like Suzuki is one extreme of no connections. Like I will use everyone,
Yeah,
but I don't feel like Mob is like the other extreme though. I feel like he's just like a chill dude who's like, yeah, I'll help you out. He's not gonna be like, he's not like the extreme opposite. Which to me,
sure,
it was really
but
awkward when Reagan was like, we have to recognize Mob's real power of connections, and I'm like, is it really that amazing though?
agree with me. But agree with me that Suzuki is like a mirror that for a possible future that Mob could take, right?
Well,
It
yeah,
was
obviously.
absolutely it was absolutely really interesting to see because they really are two sides of the same coin. The difference is Mob had Reagan. He had someone to look up to and teach him all these lessons, and we see now why this was so important. We see what could have been the future version of Mob, absolutely, if he didn't have it. And it was a terrifying vision because holy shit, he doesn't care about life whatsoever. He doesn't care about who he uses, what sort of lies he has. nothing, all just for his power. That's all that matters. And it was beautiful to see that.
Yeah,
You could also
and
say he was a foil for that spirit who possessed the
fighting
CEO's
spirit.
the CEO's daughter in that one of the episodes in season 2.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, like basically any of the characters who are really powerful, Esper is, it's a contrast with Mob.
yeah, yeah. That's very true. And what Shinoda mentioned about Mob having Reggie and all of his friends to guide him to that path, I think it's great that a few episodes before you do see Mob, but without all of his connections, what he would be, and it would be a monster. Also, if he wouldn't have all of these connections,
I
that would
mean,
teach him to like do it right. You know?
I think the main difference is that, like, the whole premise is that Mob, at the, like, before the show even started, hurt his brother with his powers. And so then when he saw that he hurt his brother with his powers, he was like, oh shit, I can't, like, use these freely or I'm gonna hurt people. So he just, like, withdrew into himself. Whereas Suzuki, when he hurt people, he was like, oh, so easy, you're so weak, why should I stop?
Yeah.
So, like, even earlier than his connections, I think there's, like, just an inherent difference in their mindsets.
Okay. Okay. I didn't think about it like that. That's actually pretty cool. All right. We're getting near the end of this podcast, so here's one of two questions. Fuck you, show. We're doing it.
Oh
We're
my
doing
god.
it.
You need to say it with, like, a serious tone and, like...
It is serious. Fuck you.
Is Mob Psycho 100 both seasons? Fuck you.
Third
A modern
season,
classic.
here's hoping.
Is it a modern classic? For me, it's an easy yes. Like, season 2 specifically was one of the easiest 10s I gave. Fuck you, show. Fuck you. Shinoda, go ahead and talk.
I would definitely say yes because this is one of those shows where I feel it has a lot of substance. It has a good story, good arcs, a lot of interesting and unique characters with pretty cool characteristics. It's something that I want to show to a lot of people. And I want to. Hell, I might even recommend this anime as one of those first animes that you should watch if you want to get into stuff. Because it shows a different side to anime. The side where it's actually good to watch this stuff because it actually imparts knowledge and a sense of belonging.
So, I rated the first season a 6 and the second season a 7. And, honestly, I think it's the biggest problem. I mean, okay. The first season was a bit, of a headache to get through, but I did enjoy the second season. And I think the biggest thing that's holding me back from fully liking every bit of it is that I don't think it balances its slice of life aspects with its action aspects really well. I think that it's very jarring when it switches between them, and I think, like, it disappoints action fans and it disappoints slice of life fans, and I don't.
It's funny you say that because I was about to say it balances them
See,
perfectly.
for me, it doesn't balance them perfectly. Season 2 does it much better because the action at the end was directly related to the emotional growth. So, like, you have the two things merging well. But, like, okay, they switched. They literally went from 0 to 100, like, in every sense of the word, when in season 2, when they switched from slice of life to action. Like, when he saw his house burning up, 0 to 100, we're switching from slice.
That was the point because someone was.
Yeah, but that's so jarring. Oh my god.
That's the point. It's supposed to be jarring. It was jarring for him.
I did not enjoy that as a viewer. It was too
Yeah,
much.
but it was jarring for Mob. That's why it
much.
passed out for
Okay.
like 2 episodes.
Well, I don't think it was a narratively smart choice.
Hard disagree.
Okay, well, personally, I don't think it balances those two well. That's my biggest issue with it. Other than that, I mostly enjoyed the slice of life parts, as I've already said, because I'm not a fan of the battle style.
For me, season one felt a bit like I adore season one, but in the end of it felt a bit underwhelming because it didn't feel like we got much payoff in terms of Mob's character. Season two fixed my only issue is that we finally, because it makes sense, we progressed the story and we finally had more payoff with his growth, and we had this, in my opinion, perfect balance between slice of life and shonen battle that complemented each other. Because stuff that happens in the slice of life episodes majorly affect, at least emotionally, the characters in the battle episodes. In my opinion,
That's why season 2 is a 7, while season 1 is a 6.
That's why season 2 is a 10, while season 1 is a 9.
I thought you were gonna say, well, sure. Season 1 is also a 10.
No.
Yeah, a big problem with season 1 was that the climax was not that climactic because, you know, they're just fighting a minor organization. Like, what impact? Yeah, what impact does that have on the entire story? It was so.
The impact that the final battle of season 1 had is mostly on the relationship of Reagan and Mob. Agree with me, right? That was the. No.
Well, I'm just talking about, like, I thought the plot structure was poor, especially since we had to wait 3 years between the first and second season.
Sure.
Just to leave off on the plot being we destroyed one faction of a big group. Like, that's so anticlimactic.
Sure.
I didn't there was no closure, whereas the second season, like, there's clear closure in the plot at the end of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this show would benefit a whole lot from just like a continuous.
Yeah, if it aired at the same, like, if it was just one season, 24 episodes, it would have flowed much better.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, like, I would love to rewatch the show, like, probably soon and see how it flows now when there's like 2 of them out, 2 of the season out. But also, like, to me, the show is super special. Janona talked about like the lessons it teaches you. It's a show I can easily picture myself if I ever, like, have a family, is one of the shows I'll show my kids at a certain point because, the show is deep, go watch it. You'll enjoy it, and they'll love it. It'll be great. So, I don't know.
Honestly,
I think it's a classic.
I was kind of... I felt the life lessons were a bit tiring because I've seen this life lesson in Japanese media like 100 times with a protagonist.
I don't think it's as...
The protagonist is like a waffling waffle, and you have to learn to become a stiff waffle, and it's just, I've seen it 100 times. So. I can agree.
Definitely get.
I can say that Mob does it really well. I don't say really well. Mob does it well, but I've seen it 100 times before.
I get where you're coming from. We've seen them, like, basically force this down our throats, but again, like, as you said, honestly, like, Mob just does it differently. There's some much more empathetic and human connection there that the other shows just don't have, and I think that's what makes it truly unique and lets it stand out.
All right, well said, Shinoda. Well said.
Thanks. So, season 3, what do you guys think it'll be?
I love how, like, it took 24 episodes to get to a proper climax, and then apparently, like, I don't know how many more episodes, because apparently it didn't cover the entire manga, so I don't know how many more episodes it's going to be for, like, another proper climax.
From what I've heard about the manga, it's, like, what's left is maybe... at the maximum 10 episodes. Maybe less than that. So I have no clue how they're gonna do it. If it's gonna be like a movie or like a few OVAs. I don't know.
I mean, hell, they could just release a 10-episode season. That'll be fine.
Yeah, sure.
Like I said before, like, the first season, my biggest problem was that I didn't get enough closure. So if you're only gonna do 10 more episodes to do an entire arc, I don't know if that's gonna be good enough to properly tell an arc. So I don't know.
For one,
I'm not looking forward. I don't know what they're gonna do.
I mean, where they left it off at, my God, it was amazing. You could very well end the show there, and it'll be just fine.
but he didn't confess to Tsubomi-chan yet. How can you say that?
Okay, he didn't, but let's be real, it's not really that big of a plot point.
It's a big deal for me.
Oh my God.
I need to see it happen anyway. But I totally get what you guys say. It's like for now, it's like a pretty solid end point to the show, like what we got.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like they'll like cover the rest of the manga. There's no reason not to.
Yeah, no, like the manga's finished. So they can very well just like end it off. Just like go ahead and finish it up and just leave it where it is. Don't fuck it up, Hollywood.
Full adaptations. Whoa.
Live.
Ugh.
Movies.
I don't like 3D people. Ugh. No, I'm joking. But yeah, I mean, I really don't know what to expect of season 3. It's like a boring answer, but I'm just ready for it whenever it comes around. Really, just give it to me.
2022.
2020 never.
Oh my god. 3 more years. We need 3 years between each season
Oh
to
god.
properly marinate. Pun intended.
I mean, none of us have actually read it, right? So
No.
who knows if even season 3 will be the end? Like, how much more material is there?
No. Season 3 will be the end, most likely. And from what I've heard, people are happy with how the manga ended. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, I'm okay with waiting. So, any closing thoughts you guys want to share before we go?
The worst part about Mob was all the Reagan X Mob Dojinshi I never asked for.
Ew,
Oh,
I
God.
didn't know that existed.
Yeah.
Why would you say that? Ew.
Yeah. I thankfully
poor
didn't
soul.
see any. Like, well, I didn't read any, but while browsing, I've seen the cover, so I'm just like, oh, like. I'll fap to a
Ew.
lot of things, but this just felt wrong.
Why would you put that idea in my head? Ew.
Girl, there's so many people that ship them. There's so many.
No.
There's so many Dojinshi.
Enough. No, I'm stopping this right now. Thank you everyone for jumping here to listen to us. We hope you enjoyed it because we enjoyed bringing it to you, except for this last bit. If you want to check out previous episodes of the podcast, you can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube, all the good places. And if you want to keep up with what we're doing and have a little more fun, you can join our Discord server and become a member of our Facebook group. And so follow our Twitch channel and visit our website. And if you have any questions, comments, or criticisms of anything you've heard in this episode, especially this Dojinshi part, goddamn, feel free to shoot us an email. God help us all. Links to all the things are down below in the description. I've been your host, Nitai, and I will see you all next time. Say goodnight, everyone.
Good night.
Spread Mob
Fucking
Psycho.
Dojinshi.
Have more people watch it. Good night, people.
Night-yo.